We watch anime.
We watch anime,
All I ever wanted to do is do right things.
but this show didn't.
Oh no.
It's bad. It's not good. All of
Oh
it's
no.
bad. It's just like the third season.
Oh no, what happened?
It got bad. Aaron's a
It got
simp.
bad? Attack on Titan? Wait. It
It was bad
got
the whole
bad?
time. Because
How?
Aaron's been aware of his choices the entire time through some weird fucky bullshit that doesn't make any sense, and it's an endless loop that repeats forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, this is not a spoiler-free review. Not that we really do that on this show. We assume you've seen the ending of Attack on Titan. You know, it's just the biggest fucking anime of the last decade. That's taken a whole 10 goddamn years to come out.
And it's been out for a while.
It came out I think this month, right?
I don't know.
I don't think it's been super long. Well, I'll tell you that on the website that we watch anime on, it hit like number 1 or 2, for like a solid week, and then it just fell right off. So I assume that all the Attack on Titan fans watched it immediately, and then we're finally done. And I also assume that a lot of people already knew the ending from the manga. As I understand it, a few things are different about the anime ending, but not enough that it fundamentally changes the story or anything like that.
It's still bad.
Well, so that's what. So, yeah, as I'm an anime only. I think you're an anime only.
Yes.
You've never read the manga at all, right?
Nope.
And both of us are people who read manga, but
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of Attack on Titan until really deep into its run. I particularly liked season 4, like the final season, especially part 1. When we finally introduced the whole Marleyan continent and the whole other side of the conflict,
And how the fuck the Titans work.
and we really got into the lore of the series, like that to me was when it sort of justified all the intrigue, because to me I'd never felt that deeply interested in the story. There were lots of mysteries. I'm not the type of person who I don't get hyped about a mystery until I know the answer. Like to me,
Yeah.
I'm just frustrated about this thing existing that I don't know. Like, well, I guess it could be cool, but why would I assume that it will be? I think a lot of people, like, they see mysteries and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna assume that'll be cool and get myself hyped up, and then either
That's how I
it
felt with
pays
this
off
show
or
at
they're like
first.
super disappointed.
And I don't know. I watched the first 2 seasons and liked it. I watched the first episode of the third season and thought, this sucks now. And then I watched season 4, part 1, for real, the first one, not
Yeah.
like number 3 or 4. Um,
Yeah, just to clarify,
good.
there is season 1, season 2, season 3, part 1, season 3, part 2, season 4, the final season, part 1, season 4, the final season, part 2, and then Attack on Titan, the final season, the final chapters, which is what we are reviewing in this episode, if that's not clear. This is the last 2 episodes of Attack on Titan, which might as well have just been released as 5 episodes, since they are broken into chapters on
yeah.
exact breaks of like 30 minutes. I don't know why they're not just considered 5 episodes instead of 2 episodes.
It's very silly.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's just a matter of they did half and then they did the other half, like End of Evangelion. Apparently, when these came out, when the last episode came out, Hajime Isayama put out a little statement. I haven't looked into it. Apparently, he animated a segment of the last episode, and I don't know what it was. I couldn't tell just by looking.
I don't know what his animation looks like.
Assumably he's never animated anything before this, so nobody does. But yeah, he put out a statement talking about how it was so difficult for him just to draw the final battle that he knew it was going to be like a nightmare to animate.
And it looks like a nightmare to animate.
It does. So my opinion on this finale is a little bit mixed, but I don't think I was nearly as disappointed as you were. because my expectations for Attack on Titan as an overall story have been
Low.
so much lower. Yeah.
It's
Well-
only a little better than Sword Art Online.
Well, and I feel like both of us have the same favorite part, but to me, I don't know, maybe it's partly that so many people hated the end of the manga. To me, it's also kind of a thing like, well, how do you really end a story? Ending a story is hard.
You just turn your main character into a bird.
I
And you make him have
mean-
killed his mom.
feel like Isayama figured out certain things about what an audience wants from an ending, and he included a lot of that. But he also included some stuff that just necessarily will make a lot of people fucking hate this ending.
Yeah.
And because it kind of all hinges on Eren just like being an idiot, like
Which he is.
not recognizing that that his pursuit of freedom has made him a slave. It's something Eren
I'm a
just,
slave to freedom.
Eren just Armin rather just kind of states, like about him, and we as an audience can see and recognize. And the question is just like, well, how come Eren didn't ever see and recognize this until it's being thrust in front of him at the end? Why did he let himself be a slave to fate? That's
Because he's
the
dumb. He's not
unanswered
very smart.
question. Yeah, it just seems to. I mean, he even says himself like, "Wow, I'm a fucking idiot." And it's like, is that's the plot of Attack on Titan, folks.
Maybe
Eren
I am a
Yeager
fucking idiot.
is a fucking idiot. So yeah, I think that's kind of the way. That was the way you took it, at the very least.
Yeah.
I think
That's what he says. He's just dumb. He didn't make any good decisions, and I don't care if he's a slave to freedom or to Ymir, omniscience. Is that knowing everything?
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that.
Presence.
He was always like the founding Titan. I was always there. I always had power. I killed my mom instead of killing Bertolt. Oh my God, I'm God, but I'm an idiot.
Yeah, it was just. It gets really high concept and sci-fi.
And actually, the whole time I knew you guys were gonna have to kill me, and I was trying to save you guys by giving you good reputations. Woo.
I guess we should probably go through all the events of the finale, because what we're really upset at is more so the last episode, I think, than the second to last. Because, like...
I mean, nothing really happens in the second to last.
So, I'll say, again...
the rumbling happens.
we're
There's a
going-
lot of rumbling.
We're going right in with the spoilers, but, like, one of the things that surprised me the most about these two episodes is how few characters fucking die.
Yeah, that is true.
And I think
It's
that's...
pretty much just Hanji, right? Well, I guess there's some
Yeah.
of the guys that worked on the plane.
Yeah, like, people you don't really care about that much.
Yeah.
But, it was shocking
Oh,
to
and
me.
Eren. I guess Eren dies. I don't think you're supposed to care about him at this
No,
point.
by now you're just like, oh, thank God, this douchebag.
Flock dies.
Uh,
The guy who's like crazy and.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that. But the main reason it was shocking to me that so few characters die, I that's more where I see the audience appeasement side coming in. But weirdly, it's so against my expectations from like the start of this story
Yeah.
that like it felt too happy to be the ending of fucking Attack on Titan. Look, 80% of humanity dies. So I know that like
That's a lot of
conceptually
humanity.
it's an extremely tragic ending.
It was
extremely dark,
1.9 billion, I think.
but emotionally, the statistic, as a storyteller, Isayama ought to understand that statistics don't mean anything compared to the emotional attachment you feel to individual characters. And, like, the story tries to lay in a lot on, like, yeah, but these guys are all fucked up and emotionally scarred and they think they're murderers and they'd rather just be dead than trying to politic, but they gotta keep doing it. But it's like, yeah, but they're alive. Like, I expected most of these motherfuckers to be dead. Some of them...
Well,
I
they
don't
even-
really know why
they even tease you at the end of, like-
keeping him alive.
the Marleyans give a big speech about how we're not going to be racist anymore, and then after all the rumbling stops,
Yeah.
they hold guns at the Eldians again. They're like,
Yeah.
prove that you're not Titans,
Yeah,
which is pretty fucked up.
the ending implies, of course, that like none of this really mattered. Everything
Peace,
builds up
like-
and gets destroyed again and again throughout time, and history continues on. And
And eventually, someone gets the Titan power again.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's just dive into it. We're basically talking about everything at this point. But
What am I doing here?
there's
Great
a lot of
question.
individual stuff. So this two-part or these last episodes, they start off with Eren waking up under the tree like he did at the start of the first episode. And the implication of this scene is essentially that Eren in the present is revisiting this moment because like this episode basically starts us off with Eren being all over the timeline.
Yeah.
Like whenever he tapped into this power that has made it so he can experience all parts of his life at once, basically, he's fourth dimensional now, and because of this,
Well, and he can even like control events from before he had that power too.
yeah, because he's now transcended his whole history or whatever. And obviously as a kid, he didn't know that his own will of the future him was
It's so cool and
Anyway,
complicated,
yeah.
isn't it? Oh my god, I love when things are complicated because that makes them cool. So we see these
That's
kids.
very much the vibe of this episode.
These kids save a bunch of money, and then the rumbling starts happening, and they are, or well, actually, this happens first.
Well,
one of the kids meets
it's
Eren.
kind of told out of order because I think it does show the kids like when the rumbling is starting, and then it flashes back to Eren having met this kid, but this was after he had already seen his entire future.
Yeah.
And he already knows.
He knows he's gonna kill this kid.
This kid will die in the rumbling. I know this for a fact. But he sees the kid getting his ass beat in an alley, and it just, reminds him of himself in a way. He can't help himself. He goes and he rescues the kid.
Does he rescue the kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
He takes him up to this cliffside, and he's thinking the whole time about how he's like...
Well, and he even tells the kid at this point that he's gonna kill him, but
Yeah.
then he erases that kid's memories.
Yeah, so... This is something that gets explored throughout this last arc is... I guess there was a segment of time... So, okay. If we skip back to the final season, right?
Yeah.
Season 3 ends with Eren still being like 16 or something like that.
Okay.
And season 4 picks up with him being like an older guy.
Yeah.
He's got long hair. He's dismal. Everybody's clearly in their 20s or maybe even 30s.
I would say 20s probably.
Probably
I mean,
in
Levi's
their
obviously in his
mid-20s.
30s.
Yeah, but like there's been a time skip. I don't remember if there was like a declared amount of time that the time skip was. I'm sure there was. But like we never learned what Eren was doing during that time except that he like met Zeke and they hatched a plan.
Well, and he, got like a bunch of cultists to fight with him.
Yes.
That is
But
something
he gathers
did.
a lot more cultists like during the season,
That
like
is
when
true.
he starts enacting his plan. But like we just learned very little about what he was doing during that time. And it seems the implication throughout these episodes is that Eren did a whole bunch of stuff with people that he like because he was dealing with the guilt of knowing that he was definitely still going to do the rumbling.
He told them, but then erased their memories so that he didn't have to
He-
deal with the consequences.
Yeah, he just like spent a bunch of time trying to convince himself not to do it, I think. Like
Yeah, I guess.
like saving this little kid, but that didn't change his mind. Apparently there's a part where he like had a life with Mikasa for several years or something in like he did like the Sword Art Online, went off with Asuna and lived with Yui thing.
Eren sucks.
But then just erased her memories.
Eren's the worst.
And she doesn't have. I guess has it ever been brought up that she doesn't remember a couple years of her life in the show?
Not that I know of.
Not that I can remember. It seems a little retconny to me. There's a whole conversation with Armin that takes up I think it's in the next episode.
It's how this episode starts is Armin like waking up from having the conversation.
Oh yeah, and then we find that out. Yeah. So
it's kind of cool.
the convoluted timeline thing definitely takes some piecing together. Like you really got to look at it because it's not told in a straightforward way.
No.
Like you will see these scenes and then later learn exactly what was going on here, and you're kind of like, oh, all right, I guess. Which I guess Attack on Titan has always kind of been a, hey, read it again and it'll make more sense what the fuck was going on story, because
But
so
it's not
much
Pulp
of it is
Fiction.
reveals.
It's not like
No.
watch it a second time, you're going to catch so much more than you did the first time.
No, it's just literally like, now you know what was actually happening, you know?
But I know what was happening because it was always going to happen, and they pretty much explained the whole plot at the end. It gets a little
Yeah.
wordy towards the end.
Well, it gets way too
Wordy and
preachy
philosophical.
yeah, philosophical.
Oh, and anyway, so then we're going to watch the kid get smushed by Colossal
So,
Titans.
and I'll say this: I liked this scene overall
Sure.
with Eren and the kid because it was a good way to show. This was I not knowing yet exactly what's going on. All we know is Eren has seen the future. He knows he's going to do the rumbling. He rescues his kid, but it doesn't change his mind. We see the kid die, and it's like, yeah, yep, he really went through with it. And that's just like, basically, that's just like the announcement. Hey,
The rumbling is
has
coming.
started. And then we just kind of watch rumbling for a few minutes.
Quite a while. Yeah, it's like 10 minutes of rumbling.
And I have to assume that the biggest reason that this was so difficult of a sequence to create is that Eren, as the founding Titan, is fucking impossibly massive. Already, the colossal Titan, all of those Titans are colossal Titans.
Yeah.
So, you know, already like the marvel of animation that has been Attack on Titan is the scale of the combat. It's regular sized humans who look tiny as they're whipping around doing all this crazy shit surrounding these gigantic, you know, slow humans. But now you've got something that's a Titan to a Titan, and then there's Titans fighting on the Titan. So yeah, the level of complication of like scale gets really out of hand, which is awesome. Like the animation feat on display here, there's a huge sweeping shot of like going over all the Titans and then showing Eren and like going around his whole body, and it's just like, how the fuck did they do that? You know, like that is some high fucking tech animation going on there. So mad props to Mappa. There's an emotional conversation between
Annie and Armin.
Yes, and because
Armin had been talking to Annie when she was a statue all those years.
yes, and she could hear him, I guess, and he's like, "Oh, embarrassing."
Like,
She's
oh,
like,
dang, what if we hooked up after all this happens, you know?
yeah, they're definitely.
And then Annie says,
shipped.
I'm done fighting. I'm not going to participate in this big battle.
Yeah,
And,
which of course is not true. So, don't
What
know
is
why
it
she
first?
bothered saying it.
We've got Peak and we've got the other Titan
The kids.
boy.
Falco, he
And
I
Gabby, who's
think
Reiner's sister,
he's
I think.
He's on the road to discovering his doing his thing soon.
He becomes.
He transforms into
Yeah, he
Birdman.
turns into a bird Titan. He's the new Beast
I don't
Titan.
remember what they're talking about in this particular scene, so I'm just gonna brush past it. This is where
Annie
fucking-
tells Mikasa that she's not going to be
yeah, that she's not
participating.
gonna fight. Levi is all fucking pissed off.
And injured and still insisting he's
Barely
going to
alive.
fight. He puts on his ODM gear and like has to use his pinky finger to shoot it, and he goes, "One finger's enough." Such a dork.
Yeah, he is pretty much the ultimate edgelord, but we love him. We love him for it. So this freak shows up when they're getting, they're loading up their plane with all their last resources to go try to stop Eren, kill Eren, stop the rumbling. And this man manages to show up and shoot out their fuel fucking canister before they can take off.
Flock shoots a
yeah.
hole in their fuel canister, and then they have to weld a thing to patch it.
And of course they immediately
They kill him.
mow
I
him
think
down.
Mikasa actually shoots her ODM grappling hook into his neck, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
pretty
That was
bad.
sick.
And then Hanji, to buy time by killing a bunch of colossal titans.
Yeah, she's like, the rumbling is on its way to
It's
this
here.
place.
It's already
They
here.
need 45 minutes to fix this plane, and they only have 30 minutes. So she's got to buy them another 15 by fighting some Titans. And she's like, look,
I'm gonna die now.
this is the only way I could ever have imagined myself going out, is fighting Titans. You all know I love Titans. You know I want to die next to the Titans. Let me be a badass for these 15 minutes. And they all kind of just begrudgingly are like, well, you know
no, they
what,
do try to
Hanji?
stop her at least. A couple of them do. But ultimately, yeah, she just goes and
She's like,
kills like
"I'm gonna go
five
She does
colossal
a
titans.
real impressive run against some fucking colossal Titans, considering they're all like the most powerful they could possibly be.
Then she burns to death.
Yeah, so these things are so we see some examples of like them walking where the steam they emit just like immediately roasts people into nothing. So just her getting as close as she is to them starts catching her on fire until she eventually goes down in a big fireball. Pretty badass. Pretty cool way to die.
And Levi, is sad or whatever. Not sad because he's so cool.
They're all sad. And then they get drawn into Aaron's fucking weird mind world.
And Armin just yells a bunch of stuff that basically comes down to, hey, we can just talk this out, right, Aaron? We just want
And
to talk it
Aaron-
out. We're going to find you and talk it out.
They all make an attempt into the air to appeal to Aaron. And he shows up as a kid and is just like, no.
Talking's not going to help. I'm here to
Fuck
tell you we're
you.
not going to talk it out. You have to
Yeah.
kill me. This is a military base that's on top of a really
This
big
is,
rock.
Okay, so
They've got they
This is
had a
where
bunch
shit-
of airplanes
This is
or
my
blimps.
least favorite aspect of the finale, actually. Like, not on the level of what it means for the rest of the story, just experientially how this is part of the ending, I hate. Because, like, first, just what the fuck is this place? Like,
It's a military base.
has this ever been shown before?
No.
Was this like a location? in
They
the
haven't
series
shown most
ever?
of the world in this series.
It's such a.
They did mention it at some point before
The only
this.
logic to this, in my mind, is because the Colossal Titans are so tall, and Eren is even bigger.
Yeah.
We've got this like military base built.
No,
on
this
top
base
of a,
was just here.
It's just on top of a mesa in the desert.
Yeah. Like,
Well,
they didn't build
I
it
mean,
for the
it makes
Colossal
sense to
Titan, I
build
don't think.
mesas up high in a world that has Titans.
Sure.
Or to build bases up high in a world that has Titans.
That's fair. Maybe that is why then.
Or it could even just be that this is just where it's just a good flat fucking top where you could do military training, whatever.
They're trying to
From-
build flying
From a
machines, so you should start off up high.
Like, from the perspective of the writer, the question is, how do I have human level drama that is like safe from the ground level disaster?
Sure.
Because like if everybody was just on the ground, you're just gonna get rumbled,
Yeah.
obviously. But these guys are like up
They're
on a
seeing
cliff.
rumbling happening.
Exactly. And even though we know obviously Eren is big enough he can just show up and sweep this off, it allows for people to have conversations with stuff happening up. Like, it doesn't feel like the story is as far away as it would be. And also, they're in the middle of the desert, so there's just like a big clearing for the action to happen.
Well,
that
they
doesn't
can-
require a lot of extra
They see the
detail and
smoke
shit.
coming way before they
Yeah.
see any Titans, also.
It just it felt like such a like location that was made up specifically to be like, where's the most dramatic place that the battle of the big things can happen
Yeah.
and humanity can be like within conversational distance of it, I guess. I don't know. It felt very sudden to me. I just wish this had been a place that was established before we got here,
That'd be nice.
But like, everyone's here. Everyone's parents are here. All the main characters' relatives who have mysteriously survived the entire fucking show are here. Most of whom are going to survive. Not
Yeah.
only do most of the main characters
A
live,
lot of their parents
most
live.
of their fucking families live. I mean, again, I know there's been tons of loss throughout the series, but there's so little loss in the finale, and this is usually where like these apocalyptic dramas start killing everybody.
I would have preferred if the rumbling just killed everybody.
If this was Mobile Suit Gundam, maybe two, not the original show, but like Zeta Gundam. If this was one of the later seasons of Gundam, maybe two of these characters would have lived. Like, most of them would have been dead. If this was Ideon, all of them would be dead by the end. The universe would be dead. If this was Evangelion, they'd all be fucking dead. If this was fucking Devilman, they'd all be dead. You know, like it feels a lot like most of those big epic apocalyptic stories. And again, 80% of the human population is wiped out by the rumbling. But so few main characters die, it feels like a happy ending.
Yeah.
It feels like they stopped the apocalypse. They stopped the genocide of their people.
And now the rest of the world's descendants are going to look like the main characters, so it's just going to be a world of Attack on Titan looking ass
rumbling,
people.
Rumbling.
It's coming.
Yeah, that's a pretty big rumbling right there. Look
yeah,
at that
Aaron's
cage.
so goofy.
Think they ripped off the Gaping Dragon with that design?
Maybe. Oh, right. So they're flying a plane to get into Aaron's bones. And they get into the bones, and then they start getting attacked by, like, Phantom Titans. Oh, right, that's Ymir. She's the one who's really in charge or something.
So basically every Titan that's ever been exists inside of Aaron.
Every one of the 9 Titans.
Yeah, every incarnation of them. So it's like generations worth of... So you'll see, you know, any recognizable Titan that's ever existed, like Aaron's dad or...
And then a shit ton of
Bertolt
unrecognizable ones that are just like, oh, that one's a bird, that one's a deer, that one's an elephant.
Superman. Yeah, they do a lot
it's
of
a
fighting.
there's a lot of I don't like the ending. A lot of the action is really, really cool. I hate that Pieck gets speared like that. That's one of the Jaw Titans that I think Aaron killed. That's Aaron.
So this is where we get the speech.
Oh, right. Pieck has also put a bunch of dynamite on Aaron's neck.
While they're all having this big battle, because Pieck is basically all of the other members of the Corps are struggling with the fact that they don't want to kill Aaron, because at the bottom of it all, they're like, we're all monsters, and also he is doing this for us. So, like, if we could get him out of there, we want to. And Pieck's the only one who's like, you guys are fucking insane. We need to murder this man, or else the whole universe is going to die.
The world. The universe would be fine.
It's a Dragon Ball quote.
Oh, I see.
It's something Vegeta... Then the whole universe is going to die. Anyway... there's this scene where the general who controls this little outpost or whatever is like giving a speech to the dregs of humanity left that are there.
The soldiers, just how we've been so hateful, and now this is the hate coming back to us.
We're just reaping.
We
what
should
we
never,
sowed, y'all.
if we're able to survive this, we should never create this again.
Yeah, this is where it starts just getting so heavy-handed with, like, telling you the themes of the story out loud. It's like, in case you didn't notice what you're supposed to be feeling right now, here's a guy to explain it to you, you know? Yeah, that was a weird one. Just a little bit juvenile.
There's a lot of Armin... Oh, right. A Titan has, like, captured Armin in its mouth.
I think this is the start of the second episode. Because, like, at the end of the first one...
They're on Aaron.
Yeah, they get on Aaron, and, like, I think right at the start of the second episode, or at the end of the first one, is when Armin gets eaten by one of the...
Yeah, but not really eaten. He lives, because otherwise he would have turned into...
Well, it's just preventing him, because he...
It just kind of makes him go unconscious.
If he had just simply transformed, it might have killed Aaron right away, because it basically is a nuclear explosion when he transforms.
Yeah.
But he gets eaten before he can do that. So, yeah, he is now, like, inside the Titan consciousness, and spends a lot of this episode having ethereal conversations with Aaron, which is the most obnoxious and worst part of this whole thing, but we'll get there. I would break down, like, there's a lot of detail in what's going on in the action. Like, everybody has stuff to do. It's just that none of it's really consequential. Again, no one dies. Like, they're all fighting against... people who, like, the enemies they're fighting don't matter. It's just...
Yeah, they're not real.
Yeah, they're just,
At one point...
it's just Aaron. It's just all of them versus Aaron, and Aaron unequivocally loses because he
Yeah.
doesn't manage to kill any of them. I don't think any of them die in this fight. Peak looks like she's dead and lives.
Well, 'cause
Levi
Peak can just
looks
keep transforming
like he's
over and
dead
over again.
and lives.
Mikasa dies
Mikasa
at the end of the episode.
Oh, you mean as of old age?
Yeah, that is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I guess everybody dies sometime in the future. Boy. But yeah, it makes it hard to describe the fight because it's not like I can tell you, oh, well, this guy did this, and then he got captured here, and then he had to do this, but it's like none of it mattered. They all live and then that's why he got killed. But no.
Basically, they're trying to fight their way up to Aaron's head to kill Aaron, and they keep getting stopped by Titans. And then the Titans keep transforming into Titans and fighting the other Titans. That was a Snake Titan. I think that's Zeke, maybe, or an Armored Titan.
There's some really cool imagery in all this. I'll tell you that. It looks sick. Oh yeah, there's Falco.
Falco turns into a bird. He looks pretty cool.
Bird Titan, that's sick. Oh, there's this really ridiculous, like, Godzilla-esque scene where the human military fires everything they have.
Yeah, they have a bunch of blimps, and
why
they fly over Aaron's neck and drop a bunch of oil barrel bombs, and then Zeke just destroys all of them.
Letting that scene last more than 10 seconds, I did not understand.
It's pretty fun.
We knew they weren't gonna do anything. I get that humanity's still trying or whatever, but it really felt like, because in every Godzilla movie, there's a part where Godzilla comes out of the water and all the military machines
they launch
shoot
nukes
at
it or whatever.
They do nothing, and he just destroys them all.
And then
Evangelion
Mothra
does it
shows
in the
up.
first episode. But
I don't know what that was, but yeah, the Warhammer Titans got Peak still.
Fighting him.
Yeah.
Fighting him.
Peak has really good stamina, so she can just keep transforming over and over again.
I can't believe Raynor lived
yeah.
through this whole fucking show.
I thought he was gonna kill himself.
He has 12 different fucking near-death experiences. Levi has all his...
Levi, has the flashback memories and conversations with dead people that you would expect a person who is dying in an anime would be having, you know? And then he's fine and lives.
I'm pretty sure he gets a badass final fight with...
He breaks open Aaron's teeth. Oh, and right, he does kill Zeke.
Because Zeke is he kills the Zeke that has been... Because Zeke was already dead, wasn't he?
No, Zeke was in the ribs at one point.
Okay. But then Zeke is still in the life stream or whatever and talks to...
It's pretty confusing.
Comes back after death.
And then helps them out at some point. I don't think he comes back.
Oh, man. Did he kill him before or after he was in the thing? Did Zeke, offer... Okay, hold on. Because...
Zeke, offered himself up or, revealed himself in the
Yeah, but
body.
did he let him get killed himself?
Probably,
get
yeah.
killed then?
I would believe that.
Here's a part where Armin's just screaming at himself you stupid bastard, you dumb weak asshole, you need to wake up and move, you gotta go.
We gotta
just
go.
Basically taking his place as the main character.
Go Armin. The rumbling. Oh, right, this was where I really lost...
Some giraffes.
This is where I really lost my interest in this show is when they rumbled the giraffes. I like giraffes.
Oh, this
baby.
This is another one of those weird...
Baby.
Heavy-handed, goofy, why was this in here sequences where...
They cut to this baby a lot throughout the episode, just at random points of where they're at. And
the
eventually they're being
implication-
backed up over a cliff, and the baby starts getting hot potatoed through a crowd.
I think this baby maybe
Maybe
this
baby.
baby's descendant is the one who ends up at the tree in the end or
Oh,
something. I don't remember if anything is implied about this baby at all.
No, it's just a story.
It's like a weird little... So, okay.
Maybe it's just something Aaron knew about.
Basically, the people are being pushed to a literal cliff edge by the Colossal Titans. And as they're all being pushed off the cliff, they start hovering this baby toward inland, they all are passing the baby forward. I mean, maybe we're just supposed to think that the baby died anyways because they were all getting pushed off the cliff. Where the fuck was it?
No, the baby lived.
Did we see?
We saw the baby live.
Okay, we do see the baby live. What the fuck was the deal with this baby?
It's a baby.
Is this just like a symbolic
It's something to feel good about.
thing? What the fuck is going on with the stupid fucking baby? This is such a goofy thing with the spot coloring and everything. Like it's trying to be some kind of like fancy movie.
It's cute, you
It's
know?
not a fancy movie. All right. Yeah, there
Baby.
we go. They're handing the baby up to wherever.
Rumbling.
Rumbling is coming.
All right, so
we're
yeah,
in
Armin's in the mind
Oh
world.
boy.
He's
So-
talking to Zeke.
I actually do like his conversation with Zeke, because Zeke is just basically talking about like why
He's
humans exist. He's basically just talking about evolution. He's talking about, you know, hey, everybody's just trying to multiply, trying to change form, trying to continue, and
That's why we turn into Titans.
basically this conversation, they're trying to understand Ymir and her intentions, and whether it's hate or love, essentially, that is at the core of the way she is, I think, is the idea
I think
here.
that the thing is that it's hate and love. Ooh.
But there's a scene. This is the part.
All right, Armin just finds a baseball in the sand, and Zeke has a memory of throwing a baseball with
Well,
the professor
it's-
that raised him.
He doesn't. Armin and Zeke are seeing two different things.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I forget what
Armin
Armin's seeing.
sees like a precious moment or something precious to him and Aaron, whereas Zeke sees something that was precious to him and his dad, because it was the one thing that they just did for no reason.
Yeah.
It was like play catch back and forth, and he had totally forgotten about
Oh,
it.
and I liked this whole spiel as well. It was nice. I enjoyed hey, you know what actually matters? The stuff that doesn't matter.
I think the idea with the story is basically that they were debating about whether or not she was in love with the king. That
Oh, right. That enslaved her.
yeah, and the answer seems to be that in spite of the fact that he, like, in the same sense that Armin is still in love with Aaron, Zeke is still in love with his father, Ymir is still in love with the king, and that is the message that this scene is meant to send. And so ultimately, Aaron is still in love with Mikasa. I think is why he stops and is able to be stopped.
Well, I
But-
think he could have been stopped in the way he was stopped. I don't think he actually stops.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, he isn't.
He's
really
set
stopped.
on rumbling.
He is murdered.
Yeah.
But
But he knows Mikasa's gonna kill him.
maybe it's more like. God, that's so bad. I don't.
All
like
right,
it.
and so everybody, that's Attack on Titan. Those are our
all right,
thoughts. I've got to give it a
let's
1
keep-
out of
keep
10.
Going. No.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, of course, female Titan gets in on the action.
And
'cause
we learned at one point that female Titan, if
tentacle rape.
if she eats parts of other, like, of the special Titans, she can gain their abilities. So this is Zeke offering himself up to be murdered by Levi.
Yeah.
That
He
happens.
decides, fuck it, Armin was right.
Armin and Zeke convince a bunch of the previous Titans to join forces with the current Titans, and then they have more Titan power.
Oh, there's the baby continuing to live.
Yeah. John does some stuff.
Not gonna die despite making that
Yeah.
face.
Oh, this thing
Oh
comes.
yeah,
So
what the
Aaron
fuck
gets
was up
beheaded.
with this thing again?
Aaron gets beheaded, and I think becomes just like a colossal Titan, basically. And then this is the rest of the founding Titan, and it's just trying to reunite with Aaron. Yeah.
And then they had to stop that thing.
I think Reiner fights that thing off. And then, yeah, Peak is saying that Reiner needs to fight that thing off. Armin
yeah.
transforms and does a big boom.
Nuke it.
Falco.
Hey, everybody reunited with their fucking families.
Oh,
What
yeah,
a
and then
happy-ass
this
ending.
thing drops a bunch of gas on everyone to turn them into Titans.
Oh, yeah! So, well, and this is where you think that the show is pulling a big fuck you.
Yeah, and I would have been okay with that.
Wait, do these characters, do
They live, yeah.
They do all live
They
in
live.
spite of turning into Titans.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought this was the 11th hour dark turn where it's like, oh, you thought you just won, but
Turns out
actually
Armin's the only one
all
who
your
lives.
fucking families are dead. All of you fucked because they all get gassed and they turn into Titans. I totally forgot that this happens because it's so inconsequential
Yeah.
in the end. It would have been so badass
If something happened with it.
I really remember being like, oh my god, all of their families fucking died. That's amazing.
But anyway, then
that
all
doesn't happen, but
the weird spinal cord monster is summoning the newly formed Titans to fight off the armored Titan so that it can reunite with Eren. It doesn't reunite with Eren. Yeah, I mean, Reiner's fighting the thing still. Peak is helping. We remember a moment when Mikasa and Eren were kids or living together
this is them
or
living
something.
together, I think. They one day cast aside everything and ran away to this place.
But I also
and they just lived here. I totally blanked that this happened. By the way, the reason that we know what's going on here is that we watched someone else's video who was really positive about this ending, who loved this bit.
I couldn't really.
We didn't even register that this is what was going on here because it's so fucking weird and out of left.
I just thought it was
How does Mikasa not account for years of her life that are missing? What? He erased her memories of this?
I didn't think it was a flashback. I thought it was just, oh, what if Eren wasn't a crazy asshole? Look what could have happened. But I guess it's a flashback that he erased.
He lived out some what if scenarios and then didn't continue to do them or something.
It's weird. Who knows?
Yeah, this is a weird show. But yeah, everybody regains their memories that he had erased because he's dead now.
Well, he's not dead yet. Armin and Eren as Colossal Titans fight. Levi thunder spears Eren's teeth, and then Mikasa goes into Eren's mouth and cuts his head off, and then kisses his beheaded head.
This is an extremely Devilman-esque, and also reminds me of this anime called X, 1999, which is also an apocalyptic thing. But Devilman ends with Devilman cut in half and Satan sitting next to him regretting having killed him.
Sure.
X ends with the main character having to behead his best friend and he's just cradling the head crying at the end.
That's not good.
This is a little bit more I like that she's not she's already totally accepted it.
Yeah.
She just kind of kisses him and is like, yeah, I do love you, but I did have to do it, you know. You dumb
you
motherfucker.
done fucked up. There's another thing. At one point, Eren tells Mikasa whenever he dies, take off the scarf. And she never, ever takes off the scarf. She dies with the scarf on. And when she's 80 years old. Oh, right. This is Armin and Eren kind of talking to each other as children, going through a bunch of different weird scenarios.
This too. What is this supposed to be, a DMT trip? They literally go back as kids and get to experience all of the fun things that they would have done if they hadn't the story.
This is kind of like at the end of Sword Art Online, the first season when he's talking to the game developer.
Yes.
And they're having a weird conversation and he goes, well, you're all free now.
It has that vibe, but it's also it's way too much wish fulfillment, way too much of a happy ending. Okay, well, I know we had to kill Eren, but at least before he's gone, him and Armin will experience the whole friendship they dreamed of as children.
Well, and Eren will also make it so Titans don't exist anymore, and everyone who was one of the 9 Titans who were supposed to die in however many years don't. They're not worried about it. They get to live their lives.
It's unbelievably happy ending. For, again, I understand 80% of humanity dead, but this is dramatic storytelling. It's not. If you told me in real life 80% of humanity was gone, concerning.
It is concerning,
deeply concerning. Really have
which 80%? No.
Think the way the whole world is. If you
Could
just
the
tell
French
me
go?
media,
Can the French be part of that 80%?
It's I don't know what that means for this world and the characters who are left. The way the show ends just kind of implies and then they still had to go through bullshit and life continued as usual.
I think they say there was peace for 300 years or something, and then war happens again. Paradis gets bombed.
Yeah, it's very much got Oh god, there's this whole him
Oh yeah,
simping
Armin.
Mikasa scene.
He simps for Mikasa. Armin goes, "Wow, dude, you're fucking pathetic," and then
Yeah.
screams at him about that for another 5 minutes or so. Yeah, and I was agreeing with Armin pretty much through the
Yeah,
whole bit
this
of this. He
this
punches
whole
Eren, and then he hugs Eren,
I
and
can only describe this as like almost a character assassination of Eren Yeager, and I understand that we're not supposed to like this guy. We're meant to
I just
think
wish
he's
there had been an
awful.
actual assassination on Eren Yeager at some point before this series,
It's
or before in this series.
it's like because the last part of the show made him such like a brooding, cool bastard. They had to make him like a little bit pathetic and cringy.
He's
At the
always been
end.
pathetic and cringy, though.
Yeah, I just mean they had to remind you, like,
Yeah.
before he's gone.
Just
that,
remember, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
So he continues to suck.
A garden
He
variety.
calls himself
idiot.
an idiot. He says, at one point, he says something like, "Oh, I want Mikasa to think of me forever and never meet someone else. I just want her to be
Yeah.
obsessed with me for the rest of my life." And he goes, "But really, she should
That
probably
was
find someone else."
That was the part that really made
was,
me like, all right, Aaron, fuck off. Get to the grave already.
Everyone's alive, and they're hugging their parents. Even Levi lived, and they're hanging out. The Marleyans hold guns on them. They stop holding guns on them. They become friends or something. Mikasa buries Eren's head under a tree. They go back to the island. That's Historia. They're really stressed out about going back to the island because they think people on the island are going to kill them for betraying them. Levi doesn't have an eye anymore, but he kind of has an eye still. They end up being on the island. Wow. That was Gabby and Falco just chilling as kids. Look, Mikasa's visiting the grave, and it's implied that she visits the grave a lot. And then eventually she dies, and we see. Oh, right.
Oh yeah, and then an entire
So like a whole civilization goes by. We see a bunch of futuristic weapons destroy the world.
The first episode of Futurama when Fry steps into the cryogenic chamber and then it zooms out and you see New York get destroyed by aliens and then rebuilt and then destroyed by aliens again
then rebuilt.
and rebuilt again. Pretty much that exact scene happens at the ending of Attack on Titan. The whole show's ending decides to be like, and then here's the next 1,000 years of human history happening next to this tree that eventually is gonna blossom into the same fucking story again.
Yeah, but so eventually humanity just destroys the world to the point where it's just overgrown wilderness again. We see a little boy and I think a dog walking through the woods. They find the tree that Ymir walked into when she turned into the Founding Titan, and I can only assume that he's going to turn into the Founding Titan.
Yeah. So I guess just the tree that absorbed Eren's head. Why did Mikasa have to plant his head next to a tree?
I don't know. Where would you what if there could have just been a rock?
If she had just thrown his head in the ocean, would we have ended up with this?
Maybe like a whirlpool.
What would we have gotten the founding coral?
Ooh, let the coral burn.
Yeah. Well, Dango, if that wasn't the ending of Attack on Titan.
If you can't tell, I didn't like it very much. It looks really cool. There's a lot of stuff that looks really cool in these two episodes.
Well, so, alright, since this is the ending of the whole show, I think we should give our overall feel. This has been a 10-year journey.
I'm very disappointed with it overall. 4 out of 10.
A 4 out of 10 overall.
Yeah, I really don't like that everything's a cycle. And it doesn't matter. The story, nothing progressed. It doesn't happen.
I generally, I think I hate that as the ending of this story.
I think it could have worked better as for something else, but not this.
This was not a metatextual story.
Yeah, it got really philosophical at the end for no reason.
Yeah, it got way too meta. It got too up its own ass, and it tried to be too broad. And like,
see, we hate Eren too. Can't you tell? We, the writers and inkers.
I think here's the issue. The issue I have with Attack on Titan is that it's changed what it was trying to be too many times by the end. And all of those pieces don't really fit together right anymore. Where like the story it is at the end, when you try to go back and watch it from the beginning, you're gonna be like, how the fuck did this turn into that? You know? And I had considered back when we caught up on season 4 because of Content, Um, I can't remember. Did we cover the second? I don't think we covered the second half of season 4 on Content. I think you and I caught up on that later. I don't remember if we ever talked about it anywhere.
I don't think so, but we really liked it. It was a bunch of really cool Titan fights.
I did a video on the first episode of that season when that season started, and then we caught up on it, and then it didn't have an ending, and so we were kind of like, well, I guess we'll just wait for the thing to be over, and like.
Then it took 2 years.
And so the way. During that time, I had been giving consideration to like read the whole manga, and maybe I'll do this eventually. I don't know. This would be such a time-consuming project just to read the manga in and of itself. But to talk about the way this whole project evolved over the like 15 years that it's existed, because the manga was around for quite some time before the anime. I remember hearing hype from Bakaraptor about this way before the anime existed. And when the anime started, it was a really hype thing because basically Wit Studio came into existence to make this thing. It was all people from like Production IG and Madhouse, which are like the best animation studios. So, and you know, the director of Death Note coming off the heels of making Death Note. So you had like this kind of dream team making like a new style of animation that had never been seen. The way that the fights are animated in Attack on Titan was just like on a different level. And when the show started, like, my biggest issues with it were it's brown and boring, as I said once, that Landon, our friend, always
brown
quotes
and boring.
me on. And that's his whole take on the show. He's like, I never made it past episode 5. And at the time when it was airing, I hadn't made it past episode 5 because I remember episode 4 ends with this crazy fucking fight scene where like everybody's fucking getting killed, and then episode 5 has like a lot of dialogue
and bureaucracy.
And granted, if you make it past that, it kind of gets to like way cooler shit not long afterwards.
That is true.
That bit of boring bureaucracy shit really made me like, I don't care, like I'm not going to be able to keep up with this show. But I also didn't understand, because the early episodes of Attack on Titan don't make the structure of it very clear, where Attack on Titan is mostly about big battles that take a long time. And like the first few episodes make it feel like it's going to be more of an adventure show, because like all you hear about the core is like they go out and they fight Titans, and the main character,
and they usually die also.
Walls. Yeah, they usually
They're not
die.
good at fighting Titans.
And so we spend like a long time, like we spend the first few episodes watching years and years pass for these characters where they've never really been outside. They have not been ready to fight. And before they even are ready to fight, they end up having to fight inside the walls. So by the time we leave the walls, it's like episode 14, and most of what happens from episode like 4 to 14 is one cohesive battle. It's just hours long. And then you go into
the battle for Wall Maria or something.
Yeah. And then you go into the battle against the female Titan, which is like the whole second half of the first season. And
maybe that's actually only as far as I got. I'm not sure.
Like when you watched it as a teen or whatever?
Because I only picked it back up with season 4, part 2, I think.
Well, because season 2 aired like 5 years later.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
So that was a big part of where the hype cycle for this show got really weird, because again, Wit Studio was a brand new studio. They came into existence to make the first season of Attack on Titan. They were not expecting that they were going to have the biggest anime of the decade on their hands. This aired like the year after Sword Art Online, and I think it was bigger in America first. Like SAO took a while to kind of build up. Attack on Titan was like an instant hit. They kept calling it the Walking Dead of anime at the time.
Well, no, that's Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
Well, so that was why, I think that's why season 2 took so long to come out, is that Wit Studio just went, we're going to cash in on the popularity of Attack on Titan and make our own original property and fill it with all the same shit, but do it even better and make it even, more fitting for anime, but use all these techniques we've developed for Attack on Titan. And I don't know how well that worked out for them. I mean, they managed to make movies out of it. It seemed like a relatively successful franchise, but it took so long for Attack on Titan season 2 to come out that I think there was substantially less hype by the time we actually got there. I don't think it capitalized fast enough to maintain what it had, to where like, because this show ending should be like mainstream news.
Should be huge.
Yeah, like.
But everyone hated the manga ending, and so I think
Yeah.
everyone lowered their expectations.
Yeah.
And this, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I really thought, everyone's just being dorks about it.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that too. Well, and people kept acting like the ending revealed Eren was a fascist, and it's like, no,
And a
season
bird.
4 revealed that Eren was a that's been the whole.
Yeah,
That's been the last
Aaron's
20
always been a
episodes.
fascist.
I don't know. Maybe people thought that he was going to get turned around in the end, like he was going to see the error of his ways and reform himself. I never thought that would be the case. I just thought it would be less dorky the way that it, or like less of him. I don't understand how he didn't see that he was being like contrary, that like he wasn't being free, that he was choosing to be a slave to fate. Like he thought that would bring freedom, but how can being a slave bring freedom? You know, it seems so asinine and obvious, and you know, obviously he calls himself an idiot in the end, but it's hard for me as like a person watching the show to buy that like the plot is the guy's an idiot, you know.
I just wish he was a funnier idiot the whole time.
Yeah, that would have been nice. And so for me, like, when Nate and I finished the first season, my take was like strong 6, light 7. Like, I think the show does a lot of good stuff. It looks incredible a lot of the time, but it wasn't appealing to me in a personal way, and the storytelling felt sloppy. It felt like the author had certain things he knew that he was going to do, certain things that he was coming up with along the way, and certain things he was changing his mind about.
Because of what the audience said.
Well, and that's the other thing, is that when the first season came out and he watched it, the way he understood the story was different because he saw someone else interpret it. He saw what it looked like through the eyes of other people, and also he understood that the expectation was different now because more people had seen the anime than would ever have read the manga.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievably explosive mainstream hit all around the world. So now he's looking at it and going, well, how do I make, now that I've got a hit, how do I satisfy all these people with all these high expectations for my story? And so his answer to that was basically to look to what he thinks is good about other stories and try to copy that. And it seems like that's basically like convoluted political shit, like having some kind of statement about society, having some kind of deeper thematic resonance. And I think he accomplishes a lot of that, but then just pushes it too far of like trying to explain it, of like, you already implied it all. You didn't need to spell it out and then get like all metaphysical just for the sake of having characters analyze their own behavior in the fucking story.
What if
I'm supposed to analyze the behavior?
What if instead of beheading Eren, Mikasa killed Eren with a homemade shotgun? Just like Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was killed with.
No.
That's some political commentary.
That would
right
be
there.
some political commentary.
What is the commentary saying? Who knows?
I feel like with season 2, because season 2 is only like 13 episodes long, even though it was like 5 years, but we knew that there was going to be more before too long.
And then I didn't like that either.
Season 2, I remember being...
Or 3, I mean. I didn't like season 3.
I remember season 2 kind of being where the show started to pick up because it was getting a little bit more complicated, where it was like cutting between different things happening with different characters, which didn't happen as much in the first season. And so it started to get a little more exciting. The animation was really getting crazy. And then season 3, the first half of season 3 sucked because it was just political shit and it was really boring. And most of it didn't matter in the end because all the bad guys got killed and the good guys moved on to something else. And none of it was really that consequential. But then the second half of season 3 was just all the badass big epic fights with Zeke.
Oh, okay.
Where it was just Levi and fucking the commander dude having.
I saw some of that. That was
his
pretty
death
cool.
was in there and
Pervin.
all that. And yeah, you watched all of this. You caught up to the show.
Oh, okay. Oops.
On our way into season 4, I promise you. But it was definitely marathon style. But yeah, the second half of season 2 or season 3 rather was badass. easily the highlight of the show because it was when all of the characters that you cared about the most were at their most relevant. It was when they had like the biggest, most meaningful battles against the biggest, most meaningful bad guys. All of the plot truths had been revealed at this point, except for everything that was going to happen in the final season. So like by the time you got to the end of season 3 part 2, to me the show had kind of wrapped up
Everything
it was doing initially.
it could have just ended.
It could have ended there, but I really like the reveal that there was a rest of the world and that they were going to have to have conflict with them. I just think the issue this raises is that shouldn't have been the end of an apocalyptic story, because we don't know fuck about the rest of the world. We just revealed that everything that's happened was on this tiny little island.
Well, we know there's like in Asia, there's like in Africa, there's like in England.
There's like a proxy our world, and all of them pretty much just get wiped out at the end, but we learned so little about it all. Like it feels like season 4 raises this massive amount of intrigue over the course of like, I think it was 16 episodes for the first half. And so it was like 16 episodes of constantly learning interesting new shit about the character. Reiner's like trying to kill himself. There's all these crazy emotional turns. You have, you know,
Reiner's always killing
a
himself.
Villain. We don't really know why. There's like the whole Warhammer Titan fight. Which
that was cool.
Sick.
I liked that a lot.
And like a lot of people didn't like the Mappa animation as much as the original show, but I think there was just way more fight animation with way more Titans.
Yeah.
And it looked sick. Like it
did look awesome.
Individually, animation cuts were not as crazy as they had been before, but the overall show I thought looked awesome, felt awesome, and particularly these last episodes look amazing. This is some of the tightest animation you're gonna see. It looks better than most anime films. It looks incredible, but
the story is
garbaggio.
Garbaggio.
It's just like everything that was happening in season 4 was interesting on a political level, but it's not interesting as the lead up to Eren destroying 80% of humanity and then just getting killed because he realizes he's an idiot. Like, the story either needed to go on longer, or it needed to flesh out the world more, or Eren just needed to have a better like reasoning or more conversations with people before the ending. I don't know. It just feels lackluster. It feels like season 3 concluded all the cool shit that the story was already doing. Season 4 opened up this whole new chapter of cool shit, and then just kind of, okay, it's over now. You know, like, all right, I made all the points I was trying to make, so this is where the story ends, you know?
We could have had a whole rest of the world, you know? Eren travels the world. Eren of Arabia, why not?
Well, and that's especially why I hate the implication of the ending to just, like, time skip 1,000 years or whatever is, like, we can't even really enjoy imagining what the rest of the world is like or the characters are like, because we already know that like none of it matters, because it's all just gonna get built up and torn down and built up and torn down, and then, you know,
maybe there's gonna be a sequel.
There's some kind of extra chapter, and also like not only is Isayama writing like another ending or something, like another chapter to add on to the ending of the manga, but also
Eren actually also has a conversation with his mom and dad.
There's also some kind of like short Levi backstory thing coming out, I guess.
Spoiler: he's a badass.
He's gonna milk it. He's gonna milk it for all it's worth. But yeah, we have not quite seen the end of Attack on Titan just yet.
That's why our new show, Attack on Titan. No.
Yeah. Again, I did enjoy watching these overall because of all the crazy animation and shit. But in the end, it did leave me feeling kind of hollow, where like I remembered the beats of the plot, but most of the intricacy of what happened didn't matter and therefore was forgettable. And that's kind of how I feel about the whole show. There's big moments, and most of what separates those big moments is kind of a wash. There's tons of unmemorable characters, tons of characters who died who I never thought about again.
Poor Marco.
I think it's overall like
I had forgotten Bertolt had died until Armin turned into the Colossal Titan.
I think I would give the whole show like a 7 out of 10. I think it's a lot longer than it needs to be. It explores a lot of cool ideas in that time, but it is very much like floundering around through a guy who doesn't really know how to tell stories that well, trying to figure out how to do it, and like occasionally, hitting on something great, which I understand.
I love hitting on something great, which is you.
All right, well, we've been Bird and Bee. You can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/GoldenWitchFire, and get access to our bonus episodes.
Ooh.
Our next bonus episode on Hayake Monogatari, we're going to be recording this weekend with our friend Landonime, a.k.a. Butthole Weeb, who loves the show, said he had a huge emotional reaction to it, and definitely will know more about the Japanese history that the show is steeped in than we do.
Yeah.
So he'll probably be able to help us talk about it.
I'm excited for that.
It's pretty complicated and hard to talk about show. Where we're most of the way through it. But we already have bonus episodes that you can get instant access to on the Melancholy of Haruki Suzumiya, Bocchi the Rock, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and Keep Your Hands Off of the Azoken. We also have our We Read Manga podcast for our high-rolling $15 a month patrons. We have one episode of that covering Berserk, Vagabond, Vinland Saga, Hoseki no Kuni, and JoJo Part 7. We'll be recording the second one of those soon as well. And also, if you give us $10 a month, you get your name read in every single episode of the main podcast. We'd read your name in this one, but we don't have internet access right now.
And this isn't an episode of the main podcast.
Not an episode of the main podcast, but the next one of those will also be coming out pretty soon because we're catching up on the anime that we gotta watch. This one, I don't like that it takes us so long between our episodes of our podcast, but I've kind of given up on trying to make it it comes out every Saturday. Like, that's not possible.
It comes out when it comes out.
The fact of the matter is, the amount of money that we make on this podcast in 1 month is the equivalent to what we make doing 1 day of our regular job. So we've been doing a lot more of our regular job, and it's hard for us to find time to do the podcast. But that could all change if we start making some real money off of it. Because I would much rather do this than lift things for a living. Anyway, do you have any
even lift?
Parting comments? You can also support us on back.buy, which we cannot be kicked off of should Patreon ever decide it didn't like us for some reason. Also, we're going to be launching another podcast soon. I know it seems like, how could that be possible when you have so little time for this podcast? Well, this podcast involves watching anime. Our other podcast won't. It'll be something we can just do. So it won't even take any time away from this one. But it's about bad comments. So if you know any really bad commenters, like somebody who just routinely leaves just the worst comments, please let me know. Please. Especially if it's somebody you hate. Like, if you really hate this person for the bad comments they leave, feed them to me.
Anime forever.
Yeah, anime forever. All right.